Hello, it's Jamieson here, Managing Broker of RE/MAX Crest Realty Westside with your frequently asked questions. Today's question comes from one of our agents at RE/MAX Masters on the North Shore. They're saying, I have a great listing that I would actually like to buy for myself. What do I need to consider if I want to buy one of my own listings? You have a lot to consider, and be very careful with this. Again, seek the advice of your managing broker if you're ever in this position. It is a huge conflict of interest for you to buy one of your own listings, because obviously your agency duty is to act in the best interest of the seller, and how could you possibly do that if you're considering buying the property for yourself, which obviously you have a huge interest in. So it's an impossible situation. You really can't do it without very specific steps. Basically, advise your managing broker and seek their approval. Your company may have a policy, or in this certain situation, your company liability, they just may decide it's not worth it. You can't buy that listing. So definitely seek advice from your managing broker first as to if you can even proceed. But if you can, obviously you have to give full written disclosure of the conflict of interest, the nature of the conflict of interest, written disclosure to your seller. That's the first step. Next step is to give them an option to cancel the listing. Because you're trying to buy the listing that you have, you need to give them the option to cancel that listing and get their own representation, whether it's from another brokerage or someone in your own brokerage, but they need to have the option to cancel the listing and get their own independent representation, because obviously you can't represent them anymore because of the conflict. If they choose to remain under contract, you're going to withdraw, you have to withdraw as the representative for that listing. So if they decide to keep it with the company, to keep the listing active, that's fine, they can do that, but you must withdraw as the representative. You can't represent them, you can't be the listing agent. And what would happen then is your managing broker, or someone that they designate in the company presumably, would be the person that's representing the seller. Once that happens, you must cease all direct communication with the seller, so you can't talk to them, you can't phone them, you can't email them, nothing directly to the seller, because now they've got their own person looking after their interests, and you're obviously looking after your own interests, and you've withdrawn from the listing. Obviously you also need to do a disclosure of interest in trade, because you are a licensed person buying from a member of the public, so disclosure of interest in trade. And I would recommend that you make the contract subject to independent legal advice. If they're, and cancel the listing and end up listing it with another agent, you wouldn't have to do that. But if they're staying under contract with your brokerage, you definitely want to give them the option for independent legal advice. They don't have to take it if they don't want to, but you need to make sure that you're covering your bases by making sure, the managing broker actually, or their representative would make sure that that clause is in there to protect the seller, since they're staying under contract with our brokerage. So I hope that helps. It is possible to buy your own listing if you really like it, but again, because it's a huge conflict of interest, you really need to make sure that you follow these steps carefully, because again, if anything goes wrong, you want to make sure you've covered your bases. So I hope that helps, and if you buy your listing, good luck.